Blake Lively's legal drama just took a shocking new twist, and this time, it's not just a headline grabber, it's a full-blown emergency situation. The actress has once again delayed her scheduled deposition, stunning courtroom observers, and sparking outrage online. The reason: an unexpected emergency hearing that, according to insiders, was hastily called to provide cover for yet another delay in her testimony. But critics aren't buying it, and neither is the judge. Let's be clear. This was supposed to be a defining moment in the case, a high-profile deposition where Blake would finally be asked under oath to explain her accusations, her shifting narrative, and her role in a legal battle that has spiraled far beyond Hollywood and into a global conversation about free speech, online creators, and the power of celebrity. Yet instead of showing up, Blake's team pushed for yet another delay, citing procedural complications that many believe were entirely manufactured. But that's not all. As if the delay itself weren't controversial enough, Blake's attorneys used a recent dismissal of a defendant in Texas, someone entirely peripheral to Blake's direct testimony, as the justification. And now, people are asking, is Blake Lively using courtroom tactics to avoid accountability? Is she trying to run out the clock on public attention, or worse, is she hiding something? Over the next 4 parts, we'll break down exactly what happened, why it matters, and how this delay could actually backfire on Blake more than she realizes. The deposition was initially scheduled for early July. It was anticipated to be one of the most important developments in the lawsuit between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. This wasn't just a routine legal formality. This was Blake's chance to clarify months of unanswered questions. But with just days to go, her legal team filed for an emergency hearing, arguing that new developments, specifically the judge's dismissal of a Texas-based co-defendant, created substantive changes that warranted postponing Blake's appearance. Legal observers were stunned. Why? Because Blake's own legal team had previously argued that the Texas defendant's role was minor and unrelated to Blake's direct claims. Yet now, the dismissal of that same defendant is being used as an excuse to avoid sworn testimony. One legal analyst described it as a delay tactic dressed up as a technical issue. Another went further, suggesting that Lively's team may be trying to avoid the embarrassment of having to answer questions about internal communications, redacted evidence, and her apparent behind-the-scenes involvement in coordinating statements across multiple media platforms. Unsurprisingly, Justin Baldoni's attorneys were furious. In a written motion, they described the delay as strategic evasion and accused Lively's team of exploiting procedural ambiguity to avoid material accountability. One source close to the case said Baldoni's legal camp had been preparing for the deposition for weeks, compiling a list of questions that focused on inconsistencies in Blake's prior statements, her coordination with publicists, and her involvement in statements that are now at the center of the case. Justin wants answers, the source said, and so does the public. Every time this deposition gets pushed back, it raises more eyebrows and invites more scrutiny. The frustration isn't limited to the lawyers. Content creators, journalists, and even former Hollywood allies are beginning to question Blake's integrity. What started as a legal case is now a growing reputational disaster. Meanwhile, in an unexpected twist, Blake Lively's legal team has doubled down on its pursuit of content creators who've discussed the case. Subpoenas have been issued, social media platforms have received takedown requests, and a chilling message has been sent across the digital landscape: if you speak up about this case, you could be next. Creators across TikTok, YouTube, and X, formerly Twitter, have reported legal warnings, and many believe it's an attempt to suppress coverage and silence critical voices. The timing of these legal maneuvers is suspicious. They escalated precisely when Blake's deposition was supposed to happen. This is textbook distraction. One digital rights advocate said they're targeting creators to shift attention away from the fact that Blake hasn't testified. What's even more worrying is that some of the creators targeted live in countries where EU privacy laws make subpoenas incredibly complicated, and yet Lively's team is still trying, raising questions about jurisdiction, press freedom, and the ethical boundaries of using wealth and fame to control narratives. So what actually happened at the emergency hearing? According to transcripts obtained by reporters, Blake's attorneys argued that clarity was needed on how the dismissal of one defendant would impact the broader scope of the case. The judge, however, was reportedly skeptical. In a sharp rebuke, the judge asked whether this clarity was something that genuinely required a delay of Blake's deposition. You've known for months that this deposition was scheduled, he said. Why now? While the judge didn't outright deny the delay, he made it clear that this would be the last such request he'd entertain without overwhelming justification, and in doing so, he signaled something crucial: the court is losing patience with Blake's team. As word spread about the delay, Hollywood began to react quietly. At first, the not-so-quietly one-a-list producer reportedly said, "This is not the Blake I thought. I knew." Others have speculated that she's losing support even among longtime allies. Taylor Swift, who has remained publicly silent for weeks, continues to distance herself, avoiding any public mention of the lawsuit, the creators being targeted, or Blake's legal troubles behind closed doors. It's being described as a PR implosion. Agencies are reevaluating client partnerships, and publicists are nervous about being dragged into discovery. Even Ryan Reynolds, once a vocal supporter, has been curiously muted in recent weeks in online forums like Reddit. Speculation is running wild. Users are piecing together legal documents, court transcripts, and interviews to form a picture that is increasingly damning for Blake. Posts outlining timeline inconsistencies and highlighting newly leaked emails have gone viral, prompting moderators to step in, but that didn't stop the firestorm. Threads have been archived, reposted, mirrored, and shared across platforms. The more Blake's team tries to suppress them, the more determined the internet becomes to document every twist in real time. Once again, Blake Lively has done the unthinkable, delaying her sworn deposition for the second time. Just as pressure was mounting and the world was watching, this wasn't just any delay. It came after an emergency hearing that blindsided even the court observers. What was expected to be the turning point of the case turned into a legal spectacle, filled with confusion, legal maneuvering, and most importantly, silence from Lively's side. We've now entered a new phase in this explosive courtroom drama, where silence speaks louder than words. The postponement has left everyone asking the same question. What is Blake Lively so desperate to keep hidden? We're not just talking about red carpet headlines or social media gossip anymore. This is a legal matter that's raising alarms about transparency, power, and accountability. At the heart of it all is Lively's decision to once again dodge her deposition, the moment where she was supposed to answer tough questions under oath, and instead of clarity, we got chaos. Even more troubling is the excuse provided by Lively's legal team. They claim that a recent ruling in Texas, where a defendant was dismissed, somehow makes Blake's deposition unnecessary. Even though her own lawsuit continues full force, it's a legal maneuver that critics are calling disingenuous and possibly misleading, and that's just the beginning. This situation isn't just impacting Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, it's now spilling into the lives of journalists, content creators, and even international press organizations who have found themselves entangled in the fallout. Subpoenas are flying, questions are being raised, and the legal and moral weight of Lively's actions are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. This is your full breakdown of everything that just happened: the delay, the emergency hearing, the fallout, the implications, and most importantly, what comes next. So buckle in, because what you're about to hear may change how you see Blake Lively, celebrity influence, and the fight for truth in the courtroom. This latest delay might have bought Blake Lively a little time, but it has cost her something far more valuable: credibility in the court of public opinion, and possibly in the court of law. Delaying tactics are rarely seen as strength. Instead, they signal fear, whatever Blake is trying to avoid. The clock is ticking. Baldoni's team is gaining momentum. The press is hungry for transparency, and the community of creators and journalists she's targeting is not backing down. This isn't just a case about defamation anymore, it's about whether celebrities can use their wealth and legal firepower to dodge accountability, or whether, even in Hollywood, the truth eventually catches up. The emergency hearing may have delayed her deposition, but it has only intensified the spotlight on Blake Lively, and with every delay, that spotlight burns a little hotter. The fallout from Blake Lively's delayed deposition has sparked an uproar, not just in the courtroom but across the media landscape and the broader public. What was meant to be a routine and legally required step, Blake finally giving her deposition, was suddenly canceled at the 11th hour. And while her legal team may have cited procedural reasons, the backlash is mounting. The emergency hearing, called by Lively's team just hours before her scheduled deposition, wasn't just a delay tactic. It was a full-blown strategy pivot. But here's the thing: delaying a deposition doesn't make the facts disappear, it doesn't erase the mounting pressure. In fact, it often has the opposite effect. Legal analysts are already saying this delay may harm Lively's credibility with the court. After all, this isn't the first time her deposition has been pushed back. It's not even the second. This is yet another in a long line of carefully orchestrated postponements. And the optics are terrible behind the scenes. Her attorneys argued that a recent ruling in Texas, where one of the content creators involved in the lawsuit was dismissed from the case, fundamentally changed the structure of the complaint. They insisted that the dismissal meant Lively's testimony needed to be recalibrated to account for the new legal landscape. But critics were quick to pounce on the move, calling it a thinly veiled attempt to dodge tough questions. Journalists, legal experts, and even former entertainment attorneys are asking the same question: What is Blake Lively so afraid of? Why is she working so hard to avoid speaking under oath? If she believes she's in the right, if her case is solid, if her claims about defamation are accurate, why is her team constantly stalling? The judge's reaction. Thin ice. One source close to the case revealed that the judge was visibly unimpressed by the last-minute motion to delay while the court ultimately granted the continuance. The language in the judge's written order suggests growing impatience. The court warned that future delays will be viewed with heightened scrutiny, which is legal speak for "we're watching, and this won't keep flying." Some experts believe that the delay could backfire spectacularly. The legal system, especially in high-profile civil cases like this, is built on structure, deadlines, and respect for due process, and when a celebrity appears to flaunt those boundaries, courts often respond harshly. Blake's legal team is now operating under a spotlight so intense that even minor missteps could derail their strategy. The judge has made it clear this case will move forward whether Blake is ready or not. Justin Baldoni's legal team responds, and they're not pulling punches. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's legal team wasted no time responding to the sudden postponement. Within hours of the emergency hearing, they filed a blistering rebuttal, accusing Lively's lawyers of engaging in tactical avoidance and stonewalling. The language was strong, and the message was clear enough is enough. One excerpt from their response reads, "The plaintiff has demonstrated a consistent pattern of delay, evasion, and legal acrobatics designed solely to avoid answering questions. Under oath, the defendants will not stand by as the plaintiff attempts to manipulate the timeline of this case." Legal commentators praised Baldoni's team for their directness. It was a bold strategy, essentially daring the court to call Blake's team out for bad faith legal maneuvers, and given the increasing public scrutiny, it may just work. Reddit creators and the free speech frontline. But the story doesn't stop in the courtroom. Far from it. Reddit threads are ablaze with discussion about the emergency hearing on subreddits dedicated to celebrity news, court dramas, and even digital rights. The consensus is nearly unanimous: something smells fishy. Users are dissecting every document, analyzing filings line by line, and piecing together a broader picture that points to one thing: control. Many believe that Blake's team is trying to control the narrative by delaying court events, all while launching an aggressive campaign against online creators. The subpoenas to creators like Andy Signore and Candace Owens, and even whispers of efforts to unmask anonymous users via Reddit, have set off alarm bells across the internet. One top Reddit comment put it bluntly: "If Blake Lively wants to delay her deposition, fine, but trying to weaponize the court to silence commentary while doing it, that's a step too far." Another popular post on our Out of the Loop asked, "Why is no one talking about the fact that Blake Lively is going after Reddit users while delaying her own deposition?" This public outrage is no small thing. It signals that the tide may be turning against Lively. Even among fans who once defended her, the internet is no longer buying the victim narrative. People want answers and transparency. Hollywood's uneasy silence. Interestingly, Lively's inner circle in Hollywood has gone unusually quiet. Usually, in high-stakes legal situations like this, you'd see a few celebrity allies come out in subtle support, a repost, a vague comment, or even a quiet statement to the press. But this time, radio silence. Insiders say that even stars like Ryan Reynolds, once very vocal about supporting his wife publicly, have gone dark on this specific issue. There are no tweets, no likes, no press interactions. It's a strategic silence. And people are noticing. Some speculate that even Reynolds has grown wary of the case's trajectory. After all, being married to someone in a legal firestorm of this magnitude, where creators, journalists, and courts are all involved, puts his own brand at risk with high-profile business deals, partnerships with Disney, and a carefully curated image to protect. Reynolds may be choosing to distance himself from the drama quietly. Other Hollywood insiders are equally cautious. No one wants to take a side in a case that could set legal precedents for how public figures interact with creators and press. If Lively wins and successfully silences commentary through court action, that opens the door for dozens of similar cases. And the entertainment world thrives on controlled media, not legal unpredictability. What the delay could actually cost her. The real danger for Blake Lively isn't just bad press or temporary embarrassment, it's legal exposure. Every delay pushes the case closer to a point where sanctions could be on the table. If the court determines that Blake or her legal team are stalling in bad faith, she could face financial penalties, mandatory deposition schedules, or even partial dismissal of claims. Worse yet, every delay gives the defense more ammunition. They can argue that Blake is not cooperating with the discovery process, an essential part of civil litigation, and use that to weaken her overall credibility. When she finally does testify, you can bet that Baldoni's team will use these delays to paint a picture, one of a plaintiff who tried everything to avoid the truth, and juries remember that no matter how famous you are, if a jury feels you've been less than forthcoming, it's nearly impossible to win them back. International implications, a legal overreach perhaps. The most shocking part of the saga is its global reach. Blake's lawyers aren't just focusing on the US, they've attempted to serve subpoenas to creators and platforms protected under European Union law. Digital rights experts have already pointed out that trying to compel Reddit, a US-based company, to reveal the identity of European users without following GDPR protocols is legally dicey. Some even call it a violation of international law. This is where things could truly spiral. If Lively's legal team pushes too hard against international creators and gets rebuffed by European courts, it could trigger diplomatic concerns about press freedom and overreach by American celebrities. Imagine the headlines: Hollywood star attempts to silence EU journalist over YouTube video. That's not a good look for anyone involved, especially not someone trying to protect their image. Blake Lively's decision to delay her deposition yet again is not just a minor scheduling shift, it's become the beating heart of a larger media and legal storm following an emergency hearing that was closed to the public. Lively's team submitted new filings arguing that her deposition should be rescheduled indefinitely, citing ongoing procedural confusion and developments in the court's handling of out-of-state defendants. But let's step back and examine what's really going on here. This latest delay didn't emerge in a vacuum. It's part of a pattern, a strategic chess game, where every move seems aimed at avoiding public accountability while dragging out legal timelines, and now critics are calling it what it appears to be a smokescreen. Late last week, court insiders confirmed that an emergency hearing was held behind closed doors after Lively's attorneys filed a request for immediate consideration regarding her upcoming deposition. On the surface, they claimed the issue was procedural, referring to the recent dismissal of one of the out-of-state defendants. But as we reviewed the filings and the court's docket, the excuse began to unravel. The defendant in question, a lesser-known Reddit moderator based in Texas, was dismissed based on jurisdictional grounds, not merits. In other words, the court simply ruled it didn't have the authority to force that person to defend themselves in California. It wasn't a win on the case's substance, it was a technicality. Yet Blake's team quickly used that moment to argue that the entire foundation of the lawsuit had shifted. Legal experts we spoke to say that's a red herring. The dismissal of one minor defendant in Texas doesn't automatically nullify the proceedings against the other parties, said one media law professor. This is a classic diversion tactic, designed to delay uncomfortable moments like a celebrity deposition. And what a moment that deposition would be. Lively's sworn testimony was supposed to answer key questions. Did she know about false information being spread online? Did she coordinate with anonymous posters or Reddit users to target Justin Baldoni? What role did her inner circle, including assistants and PR representatives, play in the campaign? Now those questions remain unanswered. Again, the court's response: silence or strategy? What's puzzling is the court's muted response to this sudden pivot. Normally, a party seeking to cancel a scheduled deposition must provide concrete evidence of a procedural error or harm. But Blake's team provided speculative arguments rather than hard proof, and the court, rather than issuing a firm ruling, appears to have allowed the deposition to be placed on hold pending further clarification. That wording is key. It doesn't mean the deposition is canceled outright, but it does mean that Blake's side successfully created enough legal noise to avoid sitting for questioning in the immediate future. It's a temporary reprieve, one that's now raising eyebrows across the legal and journalistic communities. Legal analysts have begun comparing this to other high-profile cases where celebrity teams manipulated legal timelines to wear down the opposition. In the court of public opinion, such tactics rarely look good. Justin Baldoni's team: this delay is manufactured. In a fiery statement, Baldoni's legal team pushed back hard against the deposition delay. This delay is manufactured, one of his attorneys wrote in a supplemental filing. Ms. Lively has had more than ample time to prepare, and this latest maneuver demonstrates her unwillingness to participate in a fair discovery process. The team is reportedly considering a motion to compel, essentially asking the court to force Blake to appear for her deposition regardless of the pending procedural arguments. But that won't be easy if the court sees the situation as unsettled. It may allow Blake to delay indefinitely until some undefined clarity is reached. And that's precisely what her lawyers may be banking on, stretching the procedural fog for as long as possible. Baldoni's team also pointed out that Lively has repeatedly shifted the timeline, at one point requesting her deposition be broken into two parts so she could avoid a full day of questioning. That request was granted, but now, even with concessions made, Blake is still avoiding the stand. Creators and commentators react: this is bigger than just her outside the courtroom. The digital creator and commentary space has exploded with frustration. Several creators, who were targeted with subpoenas, many of them for simply commenting on the public case, are now calling out what they see as a clear abuse of legal resources. This isn't just about Blake and Justin anymore. One creator posted, "This is about whether powerful people can silence criticism with legal threats and then duck accountability when it suits them." Another said, "The message being sent is clear. If you speak about this case, even publicly and legally, you may be targeted." Meanwhile, the person filing all these subpoenas refuses to even sit for her own deposition. Reddit threads and YouTube live streams have dissected the filings line by line, pointing out how the delays seem coordinated with PR distractions, including vague tabloid leaks and celebrity red carpet appearances. Many believe Blake's team is trying to dominate the narrative outside the courtroom while dodging the tough questions inside it. The European loophole: legal strategy or overreach. One of the most explosive parts of this legal saga is Blake Lively's reported attempt to obtain information on EU-based creators and Reddit users. According to newly filed motions, her legal team has requested user data from Reddit, even if that data belongs to people protected under the EU's GDPR privacy laws. That's a massive legal overreach. Experts say the GDPR was specific ally created to stop exactly this type of extraterritorial fishing expedition, said a UK-based privacy rights attorney. You cannot simply demand identifying information about European citizens unless you follow strict legal protocols. As a result, Reddit has already pushed back, refusing to comply with several subpoena requests and citing user privacy protections. This move has sparked outrage across the digital rights community. Several nonprofit legal groups are now said to be monitoring the situation, and there's even talk of potential amicus briefs being filed to defend anonymous speech and creator privacy. 6. What is Blake Lively afraid of? The biggest question now looming over this case isn't just when Blake Lively will finally sit for her deposition, but why she's gone to such extreme lengths to avoid it. Is it because the deposition itself would be embarrassing? Is there something deeper, a connection to the original Reddit campaigns, or to unnamed allies who could also face scrutiny if Blake speaks under oath? Sources close to the case suggest that multiple people in Lively's orbit could be implicated. If she's forced to testify truthfully, these may include PR executives, digital consultants, or even industry insiders who helped push a coordinated narrative against Baldoni. Whatever the case, it's clear that the longer this delay goes on, the more suspicion it invites in Hollywood and beyond. Delay often signals damage control, and now, even mainstream media outlets that once avoided the story are starting to take notice.